Hi, I'm Anthony Alder from Alder IP, and welcome to another episode in the IP series. Today we're going to be talking about IP strategies for startup companies. A really important topic for startup companies because you really have to get a grip on how you're going to deal with your intellectual property. The main thing to consider is, well, why do I want to have an IP strategy? Why do I want to even think about this in the first place? And the real key consideration is, are you going to get investors? So you can use IP as a bit of a carrot, or you can use it as a bit of a stick. If you use it as a bit of a carrot, then really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get investors, and you're trying to show investors and demonstrate to investors that you have a fairly rock solid IP strategy, which means that somebody else can't come in and steal your IP, or at least it makes it difficult for someone else to come in and try and steal your IP. The other thing is, having an IP strategy also gives you an ability to plan and protect your actual ideas that you come up with. So not only does it help you with developing your story, so particularly with patents, when you're dealing with a patent, for example, you have to look at what makes it inventive, what makes it novel, what is the story behind yours, what is the story behind your invention, and why is it better than everyone else's? So it gives you that ability to plan and protect your IP at the same time. The other thing is, well, what should go in my IP strategy? There are several key things that should be covered by your IP strategy, and I think the first one that a lot of startup companies overlook is trademarks. So with trademarks, you need to make sure that you're not conflicting with somebody else's trademark, and you've got ability to register and protect that right. The second thing, I'm a patent attorney. Of course, I'm going to recommend patents, and patents are a good way of protecting inventions, so long as the invention is both novel and inventive. If you've got both of those elements, then you should really be looking at a patent to protect your IP, because it's the only thing that gives you a solid monopoly over the features of the product. Third type of thing that you can have a look at is also a design. And a design is a bit like a lesser, more watered down version of a patent, where it's just protecting the shape and the configuration of the item, not how it works. But also it only needs to be novel, it doesn't need to be inventive. So it's a lot cheaper, a lot easier to protect. Other things you need to think about. And this is, if you can't get patents and you can't get designs, then really the last thing you should be thinking about is trade secrets and know-how. And trade secrets are that kind of information that you have that nobody else has, that you keep secret from the general public. Now that could be KFC's secret herbs and spices recipes, or Coca-Cola's recipe for Coca-Cola. But these are all secret things that no one, they might be able to ascertain what actually goes into them, but they don't know the proportions and they don't know how it's all put together. And this is know-how. So know-how is really important. And the last item that you really need to consider in an IP strategy is making sure that you have agreements with both upstream and downstream stakeholders. And these are all the stakeholders in your company, whether that be employees, customers, investors, suppliers, distributors. You need to have clear contracts that have a nice strategy behind them in relation to IP. With suppliers, you should be asking first and foremost that you own all the IP, particularly if you're paying for the development work. If you're paying for someone to develop your website or your app, you should own that because you're the one who's paying for it at the end of the day. And these are all things that have to go into your IP strategy. The last thing you really want to consider in an IP strategy is whether you have what you need to know to drive your product forward. And this is really freedom to operate or freedom to design. Okay? If you have those kind of things, then you can develop your product without being sued by somebody else. And this is key to putting into your IP strategy. Often what that means is doing a search, a freedom to operate search, which will give you a bit of background about what's out there already and how yours is different. So it goes back to that key point that I talked about earlier, is developing your story. And that's what an IP strategy does, all in all. I hope these pointers have really helped you out. And if you need any more information about IP or IP strategies, please feel free to contact myself or the rest of the team at the Alder IP. More than happy to help you. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.